just wanna.
Oh boy, oh fucking boy. Welcome back to the hellhole, Red Army. I am, of course, Red as usual, and fucking hell, this layout is not looking good. Oh, Jesus. I thought it would look better, but then again, I'm also waiting on Allan to get here, so... Jesus. All right, well, I'm gonna fuck around with it for a minute, but just thank you guys for joining us for the return of what is probably the dumbest college football show on the internet today. This week in college football, I am, of course, your master of ceremony, your crazy drunken bastard, whatever the hell you want to call me. I am Red, and it is good to see all of you guys again. A couple of things have changed since we've last been here. First off, Allan is fucking late. He was supposed to join us here at 8 o'clock on the dot. Fucker's late. I have no remorse giving you shit until you get here, buddy. Second, we're going to have the chat box featured in here as well. Third, if you want to have your questions or comments highlighted immediately, donations are always appreciated. And finally, for the first time, I'm also going to say thank you very much to our Patreon backers of the Red Army, Champ Gold, Malik Freeman, Crosley Jones, our captains, especially Anthony Brown, Adonis, Patch and Shaw. Shit, just realized the ticker's covering up Jay Capelot, TJ Stanley, Cameron Smith, Me Cooley, Jonathan Peck, Edgar Carter, Ethan Giesler, Jeremy Johnson, and No Edom on Sandwiches as privates as well. And may I just add, No Edom, our first audience member from the Red Army, at least to my knowledge, that is from the proud nation of Namibia, from Africa, East Africa, being represented in the Red Army, if you can believe it. Yeah, I know, right, dude? I message everybody that joins the Patreon a quick congratulations message, and I always bring up, that I really do appreciate you guys for donating when you do. But then he responded back to me, which you can do, and he gave me this story about how he just got into the NFL and he's learning the college game now, and he's using my videos as a reference with the college game. So, Edom, just want to say thank you. Your donation is appreciated, and also really fucking cool that we have a global audience watching this. I know we have some people in England and Germany and Ireland and Canada and Mexico, but Namibia is the last place I probably thought besides North Korea. Or Russia, considering Russia always tries to block my videos for some fucking reason. So,
ironically, your biggest fan in North Korea is Kim Jong-un.
Oh God, really?
Right out like this
fucking guy. Oh my God, right out the fuck.
What the f was that?
We didn't even make it 5 minutes before I had to use that clip, Akbar. Fuck you. God.
Well, who else can you think of from North
I could
Korea?
have thought of. I was going to say Russia. They're having a little bit of a hard time today dealing with aircraft, I hear. But anyways.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Gave me flashbacks to the second mission of Ace Combat 4.
Akbar, you want to promote? Speaking of combat, you want to promote your shit real quick? Because Mr. Akbar fan is on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm gonna start trying to get into the Twitch streaming and all that stuff with random games and all that stuff. Mostly just emulators of PS2 and GameCube stuff. And to give a quick heads up warning, it's gonna be real messy. There might be some slowdowns at times because it's just like I'm red green in this crap. Basically, I am running on the most bare bones budget and all. And also, there's going to be the whole I will be doing a lot of save scumming because I'm just like, look, I don't want to waste people's time watching me play a game and all that stuff. It's just like, look, if I can get through the game a little quicker without having to constantly keep backtracking back, like I keep missing a jump over and over. It's just like, I'm just gonna freaking save states and like shave off like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah. Well,
I am not prideful enough in terms of like, look, y'all wasting your time watching me and all that stuff. And the least I can do is make it to where you don't have to spend hours watching me suffer.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, buddy. So
we're
going to go ahead and get into this. First off, the first topic of the day for us is what's new. We last did one of these shows, looked vastly different, but we last did one of these shows back on at the end of December, I want to say, in the first round of the playoff before we went on an abrupt and unexpected hiatus, partially due to my health, partially due to real life shit, and also because my video on the college football playoff was an absolute cancer and would not fucking for the life of me go away. So there. We're going to be doing this every week going forward, and I got a nice little setup here. I'm not going to show you guys quite yet because some of my personal shit's out here, so I don't want to dox myself, but you'll see what it's looking like if you go to the Patreon, and you'll see what it's like there. So, Akbar, what's new with you, buddy?
Nothing much. Just kind of taking it one day at a time and all that stuff. Basically, just trying to kind of waiting for the sports to start.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, that's what's new. Not much. My girlfriend just moved in with me too this past week. I've been absolutely fucking slammed dealing with all that, but we got her moved in, all good, and things are good here at the household. Now, the 16-team clusterfuck that is brewing is absolutely providing so much entertainment for us in the offseason. I mean, normally this time of the year, there isn't shit going on if you're a casual. But for us diehards, man, it's been bad. Now, I'm going to kind of get some of you guys up to speed here. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing a lot of chatter and a lot of rumbling regarding that the college football playoff is going to change yet again. I teased at it earlier in my college football playoff video towards the end, saying, oh God, I got to make an expanded playoff video. Yeah, it's probably going to be the shortest one I make out of the whole series because there's a pretty good chance that we're only going to have 12 teams for 2 seasons. Why? Say it with me, kids. Money talks, bullshit walks. That is the main reason why. And the SEC is getting kind of jealous.
I can't wait to see SEC shorts with what they haven't planned.
I want to go to the playoffs. We want to have all the spots. We need more of our teams in the playoffs. By the way, the Big Ten has won each of the last 2 national championships, Ohio State and Michigan. So,
well, yeah, but meanwhile, the SEC had won the 14 playoff more times combined than all the other conferences. I mean, all the other conferences combined still didn't amount to how much the SEC had won. How many did Alabama get again?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama didn't even make it in last season to the inaugural 12 team because of them being bad. So, like, there's not much really to say there. We're going to get into kind of everything in terms of what is going on exactly and what it could mean for the sport that we are diehard about. And I'm going to just start off by saying the SEC this past week had their not their media days, but they had a preseason press with the media going over what they are expecting for the upcoming season. It's basically just a big brouhaha with the TV networks. And oh my fucking God, some of the things that I saw that we were seeing on X and on Blue Sky is to die for. It's absolutely insane. I'm going to pull up one, but I saw one tweet where, goddamn, what was it? From Brett McMurphy showing that the SEC provided a 7-page document to media showing the regular season gauntlet that SEC teams face in league play. It says the SEC, no other conference has a regular season as grueling as the Southeastern Conference's schedule. And again, I say, who's won the championship the last 2 years? I'll wait. Like, I don't know what else to tell you here. Each of the last 2 years, the Big Ten has been the national champion, not to mention the SEC has been kind of quiet.
Yeah, but then you also have to remember freaking who exactly is truly in the Big Ten. It's really only Ohio State or Michigan and maybe Penn State when freaking Franklin actually wins the big game, which is rare. And now they have Oregon thrown in, but again, that's still like pretty top heavy. It's like the ACC in a way. Like, who's the only really good team in the ACC right now? It's still Dabo Swinney's Clemson and all that stuff. So you know. Meanwhile, the SEC just cannibalizes each other.
I mean, look, here's the thing, and I'm just gonna be upfront here. We can shit on Clemson all we want, and by the way, I'm pulling up the tweet now because I'm unprepared as usual to be dealing with this shit.
I thought you were gonna pull up Squid Tart's video about the ACC.
No, well, I could, but you know,
watch that.
I'm not that lazy. I'm not that lazy. No, like here's the thing. Okay, you look at this shit, and we talk about like, oh, this is like strength of schedule is like going to be the biggest driver for the SEC over the next couple of years. I'm not saying they're wrong in talking about how strength of schedule is the most important thing to them because they have had, probably some of the toughest schedules out there. But keep this in mind: Wisconsin has the 4th toughest schedule in the nation coming into this season. Sometimes it really is just kind of the luck of their draw. Akbar, he's still in the stream. He just put the audio only for a second. And the SEC, it used to be strength of schedule. Now they're going off of something really interesting. Strength of record. They're saying the strength of record should begin to be counted. Now, to be clear, the college football playoff currently does not include strength of record as a consideration when they are making their picks for the bracket, as they shouldn't, because strength of record, in my opinion, and I'm adjusting my camera, so bear with me, but strength of record, in my opinion, is bullshit. In my opinion, if you lose to Alabama, you've lost to Alabama. There's nothing to glean from that. Oh, you only lost to them by 1 point? You only lost to them by 7 points. Okay, you got blown out by them. A loss is a fucking loss. And if you want to consider strength of record, saying a 9-3 SEC team is better than a 10-2 Big Ten team, it's going to be solved by strength of schedule, number one. And then number two, it's not going to matter. There's still 3 losses on the end of that column. Give me a reason. I know Ohio State lost 2 games and won the national championship. I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. But give me a reason why a 3-loss team deserves to be in the playoff over an undefeated or a 1-loss ACC team, over a group of 5 team, over that's undefeated, over anybody. I mean, I'm just make it make sense in my head.
I get that, but then we had the playoffs last year and all that stuff, and then suddenly some things people were saying were just like, oh yeah, maybe they kind of had a point, like, you know, Boise State, you know, what went with Boise State and all that stuff, you know, and then look how, man, all I know is that first week off, basically taking a week off and having the bye game did not help at all. If anything, it was detrimental to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to a couple of different podcasts and shit like that. I don't listen to one guy. I prefer Josh Pate's Pate State podcast. Personally, I think he's pretty realistic about the whole thing. But I also like listening to Joel Klatt on the other end of the extreme here. And I try to keep everything as information wise as I can, and I read different sources to try to form my own opinion. In my opinion, the one thing I keep on hearing is we need to just kind of remember what we are getting here. We're not looking at conferences that are looking at this from a struggling standpoint, like the Big Ten and the SEC, they don't have to fucking do this, but they're doing this because money. It's the only reason. And they see how much success these playoff games are driving in. And then the other reason, secondarily, is to make sure that their conferences are seated as the power conferences. And I can understand that because currently they are the power conferences. The SEC, the Big Ten, they currently rule the world. So, like, if college football, there is no shadow of a doubt. But how long? The one thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting is that the SEC might have been dominant the last 2 decades. They're not going to be dominant till the end of the game, till the end of the sport. The Ivy League had its peak. The SEC had its peak. The Big Ten had its peak. A bunch of different conferences have risen and fallen over time. And there will come a day when we're going to have an SEC that has nothing but 3 lost teams in it. And if you have 4 fucking automatic qualifiers for the SEC when your best team in the conference is 10-2, 9-3, oh my God, can you imagine the hell that's going to be raised, Allan?
Probably going to be worse than the bullshit we're already dealing with from the SEC. What's up, everybody? I apologize for being late. I got my blankets over here, and I just was laid over, and I just fell asleep sometime between 7 and 8. So
I do that a lot sometimes too. I close my eyes for 2 seconds and boom, I'm out.
Yeah,
well,
something like that.
All is forgiven for now.
Woo. For now, he says.
For now.
What is that, Rolf? The hat of discipline. Do you live in a cave?
Yeah, we're going to have a nice talk in my office after this one, Allan, for your tardiness. Like, that's bullshit.
Young man, I'll see you behind my desk.
I'll see you in my office.
It's been
You're going to have to come to Ohio, but I'll be in my office, so. All right, so
13 to 14 hours back from one state on Monday. I will drive again if I need to.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, kind of getting back into this a little bit here. I think that when it comes to what we're going to be seeing, I think is from the SEC especially, it's going to be a lot of them just hyping themselves up and positioning themselves as a power player. They just spent a good chunk of time this past week trying to tell the media how strong they are as a conference. And the one thing I'm hearing now is the coaches are pissed that they are trying to go to this 4-4-2-2-1 model. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, the 4-4-2-2-1 model is the proposal that's been floated around by the top brass at the SEC and at the Big Ten, where it pretty much says 4 teams from the Big Ten and 4 teams from the SEC will automatically qualify for the playoffs. 2 teams from the ACC and the Big 12 will automatically qualify for the playoffs. And then one team from the group of 5 will automatically qualify for the playoffs. And then you're going to have a couple of at-large berths to fill in where, say, a Notre Dame can fill in to, make the playoffs as well for an independent team to make it. Or, in this case, the 5th best team in the Southeastern Conference could make it. Or the 3rd best ACC team could fucking make it. So, this is an awful idea if you're a fan of, like, tradition in this sport. And I know I kind of shit on tradition at times when it comes to, like, the Rose Bowl. Someone pointed that out to me the other day. I'm like, it's not the same fucking argument, but like I just give the Rose Bowl shit because of what they did in the 90s and 2000s to try to stop the national championship from progressing. But no, like I think the one thing that I don't like about this 4-4-2-2-1 model is it definitely devalues the regular season, in my opinion. It just completely fucks the regular season up. I mean, and that's why I call it the 16-team clusterfuck, because it is a clusterfuck that we are dealing with here. I mean, boys, do you have anything positive to say I know a few things that would be positive in this alternate universe where we would be talking about a 16-team playoff. But please, I want to know what you guys are thinking off the bat when you hear this model.
As Ricky Stenhouse Jr. runs into the wall going into the corner. Like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wrecking, it's fucking stupid, and it's once again the freaking the people at the top getting in their own way, like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Sometimes. If you don't watch
Apologies, this has
NASCAR,
turned
you
into
don't know what I'm talking about.
Apologies, this has suddenly turned into a NASCAR podcast.
No,
Shut up. I'm staying on point here. My point is, and this is the type of stuff that Squidtard, shout out Squidtard, would make fun of. It's the fact of the matter being that, these two conferences want to be holier than thou, make everything about themselves, and they don't give a damn about anyone else. If anything, they'd want the playoffs between just half of the teams in each conference and say fuck all everyone else. Like they would probably do that.
SEC and Big Ten want that freaking Super League, man. At the end of the day, they would love that, to be able to. I mean, just how many teams would it be? 16 versus how many's in the Big Ten now?
120 something, I think.
There's 20 teams in the Big Ten. Yeah, there's 20 in the Big Ten, and there is I want to say 16 in the SEC. But let's back up for a second, okay?
Like, this is worse than money talks, bullshit walks. This is where we think we are still the best, no matter what. You can't fucking tell us otherwise, and if you try to tell us otherwise, we're gonna kick your fucking ass. There's no reason for it. None.
The word I heard is that we'll take our ball and go home, is what the Big Ten is telling the smaller conferences if they don't play along. Akbar, give me your thoughts on this, man. I know Allan just gave his. What about you?
What's
18 in the Big Ten. Thank you, Duck.
What is the positive I could give? Oh my gosh.
I mean, I got a few ideas on what the positives could be here. I really just want to know. I think you already said it, but like, what's the biggest thing that you're taking away from this shift to potentially a 4-4-2-2-1? It's not, to be clear, it's not the only proposal being floated around. It's not like we get this or nothing. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I can't really think of any real positives other than, seeing some of the biggest programs, the ones that get a lot of the national attention, playing each other in the playoffs, which would be fun, at least, even though probably half of them would just turn into blowout games.
Well, I'll give it a couple of things here. I'm going to say this. The first thing that this would open up would be that championship weekend would become a little bit more interesting for a couple of reasons. The first would be they're going to add in play-in games in this model. In theory, the way it would work out would be, so you would have your traditional conference championship games, the Big Ten and the SEC would then have 3 additional play-in games that would happen on that Saturday, both of conference championship week. That would put the 3rd best team against the 6th best team, or the 3rd best team against the 8th best team, or something like that. Yeah, it's 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. So 2 additional play-in games because the conference runner-up is going to get in anyway. And the winner of those 2, the 4v5, 3v6, would then get the last spots of the automatic qualifier. The SEC would probably do something similar. Now, as for the ACC and the Big 12, that's a problem because you can't just have them play the conference championship game. You only get 2 automatic bids. So does the conference champion then sit at home conference championship week and then 2 versus 3 in the conference play each other? It doesn't really work out well for them business-wise, I would say, because you're losing the conference championship at that point. Also, I mean, and for your group of 5 schools, they would just still be the single, championship game. And the one thing, and I shared this with the community a couple of days ago when I saw this, Notre Dame could still get a first-round bye in this scenario. And this season, for the straight seeding model, they could get a first-round bye if they finish in the top 4 in the country. Because it's straight seeding. You automatic. If you win your conference, you're going to get in, but you're not going to be beholden to getting an automatic bye anymore. So
highlight Zep's comment.
Well, all right. Yes, the ACC being even more screwed up than a family on TLC reality show. The more things change. My girlfriend and I watched a little bit of Love After Lockup last night. Holy fucking shit, what a trash show. My God.
The Learning Channel, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought the Mama June shit was going to be bad.
You want to talk about shit? If you go to your local, your local store, you'll find covered in articles. On the cover is Honey Boo Boo as a 19-year-old now talking about how screwed up a lot of that childhood was for her.
I can't
stuff with her mother and all this other stuff. She put up with a lot.
Oh, pretty much all the all those child pageant girls.
Oh yeah, no, the dancing kids, the amount of crap they have to put up with. May I make
a quick reference to Always Sunny?
Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to.
You're gonna have to use the comment. You're gonna have to use the comment.
What?
Sorry, I needed to get us back on track because this is not a TLC gossip show. This is a college football show. I know it's June. Fucking sue me, okay? So let's just get back to it.
Hold on, real quick though. But you want to know something crazy? By comparison, the teams who's like ADs or whatever are at the top, who are asking for these bullshit changes because they want to stay on top, are comparable to the parents of these kids who they forced they more or less kind of that push along and in some cases forced to do things that will then come out when they're older and say, yeah, I did a lot of that shit was fucked up and I wish I didn't.
Agreed.
Allan managed to tie it together. Well done.
All right, well done. Now, getting back to what we were talking about. Look, I'm just going to be upfront here. I do like the idea of having a couple of play-in games happening on Championship Saturday because I think it would solve a lot of bullshit. And I do like the idea of taking more things out of the College Football Playoff Committee's hands and having everything settled on the field as much as possible. But then again, that's why you play the games. And because there's 126 teams in this fucking league, not even that, not 126, I'm sorry. There's like 132 now in this level of college football. It is really fucking difficult to determine who the top 16 are without a shadow of a doubt. Usually. Some seasons it's easier than others. And I hate to say, 136. Thank you, Goob. I forgot we added a couple of guys in from FCS now. So shout out to Delaware, confusing the hell out of all the Big Ten fans when they play Michigan later down the road. I genuinely like.
Well, so you want to talk about how hard it is to determine who the best teams are. It's a lot harder when you consider that even in the era of NIL, like even though NIL is kind of spreading things out a little more, the problem is that the best, the biggest schools, the ones that already have recruiting dominance before, they're not going to slip that far off because they're still going to be able to give the most to these kids if these kids are willing to wait a year or two, or these kids can go somewhere else as a freshman or a junior and then come back or then go to one of these bigger schools as a junior or senior.
Fuck.
At the end of the day, it almost doesn't matter. Like you get parity for a little bit, but then these kids are all still just going to end up going to the same big school, the same 10, 20 big schools. So it's
Wow.
and then that's why I feel like you get a lot of the arguments on social media saying, "Oh, this team would dog walk, this school would dog walk this school." Yeah, because the talent disparity is insane. Because it's not like this is the NFL where, yeah, you will have good players, great players, even on shit teams. It's majority of the top players in college football are going to be on one of these top teams. You don't always get a Khalil Mack at Buffalo and Ashton
Okay,
Jeanty
Allan,
at Boise
I'm going to
State
pause
and
you
things
for a
like that.
second, okay? Because let me make something clear here, though. NIL has leveled the playing field to a certain degree. There is no doubt in
I
my
will not
mind,
contest that.
but there's no doubt in my mind that if it wasn't for NIL, Ohio State would not have won the national championship last year just on recruiting alone. Caleb Downs, one of their top defensive players, is a transfer from Alabama. So, like there was a mass exodus of players from these teams in the SEC going to different teams around college football. And I'm going to be dead honest with you, man. I still see the NIL as both a blessing and a curse for the game. It's a blessing because it does even out the competition, and especially intra-conference competition. It's going to
Plus, the kids
elevate
get paid.
teams up and bring the juggernauts down a little bit. Plus, the kids get paid. That said, the kids getting paid can also cause problems, as we saw with Nico. I am a fucking lever. So
we have got to
Yeah.
talk about that.
Oh, absolutely.
we can't.
And-
we don't
and
have
I-
time. We got to stick to this because there's so much more to deal with the playoffs. Watch my
5
video about
minutes.
Nico and watch Squid Tart's video about Nico if you want to know more.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
So-
get where you're going with that. But yes, it has leveled it out, but at the same time, and I understand where people come from about the lack of loyalty, the lack of cohesion, but and unfortunately that's just part of the game. Like because say it with me, kids, money talks, bullshit walks. The kids
hey,
are
that's my line,
99%.
motherfucker. Even
Uh,
Akbar got pissed and left at that. Come on, man. You know the rule. I'm just kidding.
again,
He's on audio only.
it's just. I mean, look, as an Oregon fan, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I think brings kids to our school is the fact of how connected Oregon is with Nike. Oregon literally exists because of Nike. I feel
Yeah.
like in some ways.
On a national
So, you know-
stage, yeah, they exist.
Exactly. I mean, so it's like, that, and we were a top Pac-12 team, and then we go to the Big Ten this year, and look what happens. Yes, we get dogged walked by Ohio State in the playoffs. Don't fucking remind me. But as much as it evens out the field, from like a year-to-year basis with players jumping from college to college, at the same time, the top schools are always going to find a way to win. It's just now it's like, again, like what we've talked about before, Alabama isn't as good enough, and I think this also has to do with having Kalen DeBoer instead of Nick Saban as
Yeah.
head coach and they end up with these two or three losses instead of going undefeated. You have other schools that do the same thing. Some schools they just fall right the fuck off. Unfortunately, Akbar, Oklahoma is one of them. But then again, they're one of the most inconsistent schools in college, in my opinion.
There's a rise and then there's a fall. There's always that. And here's the thing. Because of the way college football used to be done with recruiting and the way that they held on to the recruits, it kept the top teams at the top. It kept your blue chippers like your Notre Dames, your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States at the top for a longer period of time because they weren't going anywhere. Because if you left, you would lose a year of eligibility. It's too high of a penalty to pay unless you're coming up from FCS. That said, I just still cannot, for the life of me, really just disagree with the point that while NIL, it can cause issues, I think ultimately it's going to be a betterment. And the fact that we're about to get this instituted pay structure from the House settlement for all these players, I'm curious to see how that's going to affect NIL, honestly.
I mean,
like schools getting ready to have to mandate, $10 to $20 million to their rosters for football, for God's sake.
Jesus.
For some schools, that could cause a lot of issues.
Sorry, again, watching that.
But,
sorry, again, not correct.
You're fine. You're fine.
Oh, jeez, Allan, I'm a full lap behind.
Yep. So you just saw it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Stop saying things, please.
So I'm going to kind of move us along here a little bit to something else here. I'm starting to also hear chatter that the 4-4-2-2-1 model is not going to fly with coaches. Now, I don't know how much sway coaches have with their athletic directors, but what I do know is if you get enough college football coaches saying something, they're probably going to go with it because they're ultimately the ones that know best. And a lot of SEC coaches are yelling up a storm saying, no, why the fuck would you do this? Do you know what that's going to mean for our conference schedule? Because here's the thing. If we go to a 4-4-2-2-1 model, the SEC currently has 8 conference games per season. The Big Ten has 9. They are trying to work out a scheduling agreement, but they can't agree to shit because, of course, they can't. They have 2 different conferences, 2 different groups of schools in mind. And by the way, this is why I don't think the SEC and the Big Ten will break off to form a super league anytime soon, because you're going to need one guy at the top of that to control all of college football, and they ain't going to agree on whether Tony Petitti or Sankey are going to be the commissioner. They're going to want both have equal power, and as anybody knows, with a corporate merger, it's never a good idea.
No. And you would have to get someone neutral, and they're not going to.
When there's a power struggle, so it would not be a good thing for that. So I don't think we're going to be seeing the secession of the SEC and the Big Ten from the NCAA anytime soon until we get a college football commissioner at some freaking way. But the model that I'm hearing that is being tossed around for the national championship determination in the playoffs is the 5+11 model. Nice and simple and easy. 5 automatic qualifiers for conference champions, the best group of 5 school included, and then 11 at-large seeds after that. Notre Dame not included in the list for that automatic qualifier. But that said, you would probably still see Notre Dame make a first-round bye if they got a top 4 seed, for example. There's also a couple of people saying that they could go from instead of like having, 8 teams in each round playing each other, they would still institute a first-round bye for the playoff by making the worst 4 teams do a play-in game and just making it kind of like what the NFL has, but also on a larger scale, which I don't know about that one, man. That's a bit over my head. But anyway, the 5+11 model would be better. If you're going to expand to 16, okay, 5+11 would be, I think, a more painless method to do it, because if you're just going to award the conference champions, it means the regular season's still going to matter because the conference champion's going to get in no matter what. And if you're a runner-up in the conference championship game, and you have 4 losses, sorry, you didn't win the conference. See ya. If you do win the conference, causes a bit of chaos, which could be a good thing in a playoff if you got 15 other teams that deserve to be there.
So here's the thing about having with 16 teams, and maybe this is a weird comparison because of the fact of how big college football is. But what we see with college football is the teams that are at the top are usually undefeated, 1 loss, and you usually get a pretty solid amount of them. And then as you start going lower, you start seeing the 2-loss teams, the 3-loss teams, etc. Having 16 teams, which is how you get more 2-loss teams in, is then going to lead to the argument of, if someone gets knocked out for the last spot, if someone has 3 losses but looks better than a team that has 2 losses for the final spot, which is the same argument that we have had in the 4-team era about someone getting in who has 1 loss, or hell, even has 2 losses and won a conference or whatever, whichever year that was, and stuff like that. It's going to become the same argument no matter how many times you expand the playoffs, because someone is going to get left out that other people think shouldn't. And we're still going to have the same arguments about a 9-3 Alabama just because it's Alabama, or somebody else because it's somebody else, regardless of what the format is. And because of how massive college football is, the amount of games, the amount of teams, the disparity in opponents per college, someone could dog walk a team that's a harder matchup for somebody else because of talent disparity. That's how insane college football is. And I don't, at the end of the day, I don't wish this on anybody involved, because you guys are having to juggle so much with so many teams. In reality, there's only a handful of them that actually matter in this conversation, but you're still having to juggle a lot. And someone's going to get mad because they're out. And what I hope for is that over time, if Alabama doesn't make it, this year, and then proceeds to not make it again next year, that some of these teams start to shut the fuck up and get their shit together, because then they realize, hey, we're not as good as we thought we were anymore. But unfortunately,
I think that we got to keep a couple of things in mind here. Number one, the SEC has earned the right to be at least a little braggadocious here, considering their record over the last 20 years. Now, certain teams like Ole Miss, I think, need to shut the fuck up, because Lane Kiffin, sorry, you weren't going to make the playoff in any fucking scenario coming into this final week of the season last year. So the fact that they wouldn't shut the fuck up still pisses me off to no end, because why? I think that in terms of what this model could potentially be, 5 plus 11, if it's gaining more steam according to what the insiders are saying. I don't know if it's 100% accurate that they're going to be gaining steam and going with that idea, but considering the backlash that we have seen, and also the complications that a 4-4-2-2-1 model raises for the playoff, I think the bottom dollar here, doing something simple is always going to be the better option, I think, when it comes to a system that involves over 130 teams playing the same sport every Saturday, and then you got to pick who the top 16 are out of all of them. And that is not an easy thing to do. It's never been an easy thing to do. I mean, I could say that everybody just needs to look to the FCS and say, fuck, go with that. But because of the politics at play here with the bigger conferences, with more money involved, it's not that easy. I mean, let's just be completely clear. Insert color here, Hawk. I see your remark. The most reasonable model for the current state of the FBS is probably the NCAA Division I model, 24 teams. But someone will always complain of being number 25 no matter the size, 5 plus 11, 10 plus 6. It would be good for 16. What I don't fucking get here, is it's not as simple as just saying, well, we're going to have 24 teams in the playoff now. Okay, so now we got to deal with all the bowl games. You're working with a division that still operates the same way they operated pretty much since the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the fucking 50s, that we have all these bowl games. Would the solution just be to have less bowl games? Fuck no. You know how much money that generates for ESPN, for the NCAA as a whole?
I bet you 10 to 1 someone would suggest it, though. I bet you 10 to 1 someone would.
Insert color. I see 10 plus 6 is every champion, but they would not go for that. You're not going to convince me that the the champions of the Sun Belt are going to be in the college football playoff anytime soon. Like, That's ambitious as fuck. I'm sorry. There's just I don't believe in like. I believe that every single team should have a realistic chance to make the playoff, but considering the history we have here with the FBS, it's not gonna work like that. It's just too many politics, too much money involved, and the Sun Belt and the Conference USA, they don't nearly have the pull and the leeway that even the Big 12 would have or the ACC would have at this point. Which, by the way, we're gonna switch gears now. I just wanted to point out, people are picking Clemson to win the national championship this season. Clemson could be back as long as they don't start Clemsoning all over the field again.
That would be hilarious, and I need a Squid Tard video about an ACC team winning the championship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyway, I'm going to open it up to the comments and the questions for the people in chat, and we're going to kind of fire through a few of these here and see what we got going on here. I want to hear everybody's opinions on the playoff and what they want to see. I know everybody's been talking all throughout the stream. Thank you very much. I've been trying to get you guys in as best as I can, but we only got an hour, so just doing the best we can with what we got. Yeah, Clemson post Trevor Lawrence has been absolute dog water. What kind of crack have I been smoking for what take? What take are you thinking here, Cynical? I want some explanation on that.
I mean, if he's talking about the Clemson take, I understand it. As Squid Tard was saying, the ACC is tank conference, and Dabo has refused to go into the transfer portal until now.
This is the thing. Okay, Clemson for Natty. Thank you, Cynical. Why did I say that take? I'm not saying Clemson is going to be the national champion. I'm saying people are picking them to win the national championship. If you ask me, I don't think Clemson has a fucking chance in hell, because even though they finally decided to go to the transfer portal, they don't have experience operating with the transfer portal.
My dad made dinner. I'll be right back.
I don't think that Clemson has a realistic chance to make the national championship. Could they make the playoff? Yeah, sure, but because who the fuck else do they have to play in the SEC this year? Florida State Stoke is still fucking burning. They ain't nowhere near back yet. North Carolina is going to take at least 2 years, I think, to come together with Bill Belichick under the helm. They could make a run for the ACC title, but I don't see them making a national championship run. Submachine OP, I think we need to be patient with the 12-team format. I have a feeling it's going to be less controversial next year because this year was too chaotic. Yeah, I know. Remember when one lost Power 4, we're told to screw it off from the 4-team. I would say that we do need to give the 12-team a little bit more time to work. Everybody's just kind of chomping at the bit. We waited 10 years with the 4-team method, and now they're just wanting to kind of fire off quickly. The one constant that we hear with college football is that they always want to stay still and let things play out. So this whole thing about them potentially expanding to 16 teams is a huge step out of character for what we would normally see with college football. The Bowl Coalition and the Bowl Alliance, those each took place over 3 seasons. And then you have the BCS that took place over a decade, just over a decade, actually. And then you have the playoffs that took place over a decade. So I would say,
right?
I know it's money. It's always fucking money. Time that we've done this, it's money.
Well, yes, money, yes. But I think the only reason why anyone is calling for the playoffs to be expanded right now is because Alabama didn't make it. If Alabama doesn't have the season they have and they're in, and it's not, or if they were out but it wasn't so controversial, then nobody would be pitching a fit. But because
here's the thing, Alabama not making the playoffs isn't. I'm going to stop you because I'm not going to agree with that at all. People are not pitching a fit because Alabama didn't make the playoffs. Clemson, Ole Miss got more noise raised at them about missing the playoffs because Lane Kiffin has a loud fucking mouth. Bama lost 3 games, I think. Vanderbilt was one of those losses.
Vandy Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and Tennessee was the other one.
And Akbar, I'm sorry, man, but that loss to Oklahoma was the death knell for them last season because there's no if you're gonna say a team belongs in the playoffs, you should have beat Oklahoma. They were trash. And we can talk shit about them losing to Vanderbilt for the first time since the 60s or the 50s or however long it was, but Diego Pavio is a great quarterback.
The only reason Alabama got left out is because freaking SMU choked it to Clemson. If SMU beats Clemson, Clemson doesn't even get in.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have let Clemson in.
Yeah, they would have let Bama in if SMU won.
Or Ole Miss. Or, there was one more team that was like South Carolina. Honestly, that would have been cool if South Carolina made it in. Let's just let's see how that would have been
cool. Yeah, I got no problem with South Carolina being in. That would be cool. I mean, it would be also cool if USC made it in one year, and then they could have USC versus South Carolina, the battle of the USCs. Who really owns the title, right?
Would have been great.
SMU was okay. I'm not going to hear any SMU slander in the chat, Ramen. Okay. I'm going to say this right now. SMU played pretty goddamn good all season long. I know that they got their shit stomped by Penn State in Happy Valley, but overall, you look at it, they had a great season. I understand you probably don't think SMU was that good to begin with, but yeah, they still would have lost to about 8 of the teams in the field, I think. But if they had gone up against, say, Indiana, like what you would have seen in the street seating model, I think it was, could have been different. Let's see what else we got. Michigan also cheated. No one takes it seriously. What?
That's another argument that people need to fucking pull their pants out of their asses about. Blowouts are going to happen no matter what. It doesn't matter the level of competition between two teams. It doesn't matter who the teams are. As you highlighted in the playoff video, we saw this shit multiple years in a row in the 4 team. Teams are going to be, some of the best teams are going to get fucking blown out sometimes because shit fucking happens. It's not your night some nights. There's an alternate universe where SMU's quarterback doesn't fuck around and they manage to beat Penn State. There's an alternate universe where Indiana pulls off the comeback or actually just plays better.
Indiana just beating Ohio State on the road. They could have made it a little bit better for them, but either way. TriStar with 10. How can I get on this live stream? Fans don't care about these TV contracts or BS playoff structures. Fans care about the history, rivalries, and traditions. They do. TriStar, thank you for the $10 donation. Fans don't care about TV contracts. The problem is TV contracts, unfortunately, are how fans watch the games. And how those TV contracts are handled changes from conference to conference. There's no fucking way around it. If it wasn't for conferences running the TV contracts, we'd still be doing things in the NCAA's way, which was very few select games would be on television at all. Keep in mind, Notre Dame didn't have their contract with NBC until well after the NCAA lost the fucking court case with Oklahoma in the 1980s over TV contract rights. They didn't get the NBC deal until 94. Until before then, it was hard to watch them on TV. If you were in the regular market, you would get blacked out, right? There used to be very strict blackout rules. Yeah. Fans care about the history, the rivalries, and traditions, and that's all I talk about in my long-form content, TriStar. 100% agree. All I give a fuck about is talking about the history of the game. But unfortunately, in the current landscape of college football, TV contracts kind of become the window of, okay, this is going to be when the next big conference realignment happens. That's what happened 2 years ago when the Pac-12 fell apart. They couldn't get a TV contract figured out because the conference as a whole was, fucking screwed. They didn't get enough money in the TV deal with Apple that they were seeking, and the conference fucking fell apart. The Big 12 only got saved because Oklahoma and OU stuck around. They got Oklahoma stuck around. Texas stuck around. Texas got a Longhorn Network deal. And the Big 12 eventually got their shit together enough to do a TV contract with Fox. The Big 10 has a deal with CBS and NBC. SEC went to ABC.
Sorry. The only reason why the Pac-12 fell apart, other than you can argue with teams like USC, leaving for the money, was because we couldn't get a fucking TV deal done. And that's another thing. Like, we're in the age of streaming. Yes, I understand having all these different platforms and having to pay for everything, and then shit getting merged fucking sucks. But that's the way it is. Look, I saw somebody say earlier that they're annoyed how next season with the NBA is going to be on all these different platforms. And someone commented on that talking about RSNs. Bitch, RSNs are fucking dying. That era is dead. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. Do you want to go back to that where you have local blackouts and barely the ability to watch because of greedy ass motherfuckers running these goddamn things? Excuse me.
Yeah,
yes, the streaming platforms are ran by greedy motherfuckers too, but there's at least more options.
Yeah, Akbar, you got anything out of this, man?
Not really.
Yeah. We're getting a new Pac-12. Would they still be chaos after dark?
Yes.
You got.
I meant to actually hit this message. New playoff teams. I'm gonna just be honest here, Goob. This is too early for me to say. I have not had a chance really to dig into what I think the next season's going to look like. TriStar for 10 again. Jesus, dude. Why can't we just have an 18 playoff with only conference champions? Very cut and dry system. Because money talks, bullshit walks. And the reason I say that is because there is so much more money to be made with 12 teams by these conferences, by the college football playoff, than if there was just 8 teams. I think they should have just gone to an 8-team playoff after doing 4 for 10 years, and that would have been enough. And we could have coasted off of that, but they didn't. They said, fuck it, this revenue is great, and our teams need more money thanks to NIL to compete. So therefore, what do you expect? They go to the next option, which is 12 teams, which is a wonky-ass system. And I will say the 12-team system worked great, but it just, I think, other than the seeding was bad. The way they had it worked out, the conference champions and shit, that was bad. But, I wish they could have gone to 8 teams. It probably would have saved a lot of headache and trouble and a lot of chaos. But this is what happens when you don't have a single commissioner for college football. You get a bunch of conferences that want to do whatever they want, and you get a boardroom full of old men that are out of touch to do whatever the hell they feel like is best, not for the fans, but for the schools, the presidents of said schools, and for the bottom line. We're going to switch it up a little bit here. Ramos has a question about FCS. Sorry for the random question. What do you think of the Ivy League playing in the FCS playoffs? I think it's long overdue. I think it's very long overdue. The Ivy League, famously for a long time, has not been wanting to play in the playoffs because they value academics more than athletics, which is partially why we saw a big fall off of the Ivy League in the 1940s and 50s, to the point when they didn't even survive the jump when they split it into Division 1A, Division 2A. They were relegated to Division 2A because they didn't care about the money, ironically enough, considering they're the richest academic institutions in the country. That's why you got this great disparity between what Harvard and Princeton and Yale dominating and all that shit. And then it became slowly the power conferences we know today. All right, we're running out of time. I'm going to do a couple more questions, and then we're going to sign off. Electro, Lee Corso making his last headgear pick on College Game Day really means the end of an era for college football. It does, man. I got the chance to see him drive by me in a golf cart when I went to see Ohio State and Indiana in November. So that was pretty cool, but it's time. Lee is he's old and he needs a break and he needs to retire. The years have taken a toll on him. Keep in mind, this man's had a heart attack years ago, and he's had health problems here and there. He didn't even do the full season the last couple of years. I think he only did about 2/3 of what his schedule was. So it's been coming. but I can't remember did they announce where that college game day is going to be at? I know it's going to be the week 1, not week 0 in Ireland.
Yet.
Got it. I think it's probably going to be. It has to be Columbus, right? Because of Ohio State versus Texas, week 1. Has to be Columbus.
I think it's going to be.
Nick Saban continue the headgear tradition on game day. It'll make Bama fans blow a fuse. I think it's going to be Pat Mack. It's going to be Pat McAfee that does the shit. So,
I 1000% can see that.
Yeah, I think with Pat McAfee coming in to the show, I think that's going to help them out tremendously, keeping the energy up. All right, I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to call it. So whoever gets the next question, unless no one wants a question, and then we're just going to quit because I'm tired. Let's see. Last chance, and I'm on a slight delay, so should be seeing something any second here. One more chance to get on the show with your question. Ballsy, not a question, but go blue. That doesn't count. Oh, hell yeah, cynical. Thoughts on college football 26? Gonna be great. I can't wait. I'm gonna get the early access to it here in the next couple weeks. And I'm going to pre-order it. And it's going to be great. If you haven't been following along with what they're going to be changing with college football 26, you can have dynamic lighting. They're going to have a trophy case again, protected rivalries and dynasty. It's going to be, they got the real coaches now in college football 26. 300 coaches, I think, are going to be in the football game now, so it's great.
Dion and Belichick apparently are not in it, which is not surprising in this way.
Belichick famously wasn't even in the Madden games.
Yes, that's true.
Because he wasn't part of like the coaches union or some shit. Because he doesn't give a fuck.
It was George Lucas.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. So once again, this is going to be the new weekly stream going forward. Myself, as long as Akbar and Allan, when they can, are going to be doing a live stream every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Going into the season. What is it, Akbar? We got to sign off.
Rookie has at least, if we just do quickly answer that question. Thoughts on the NBA Finals? It's Pacers versus Thunder. All I know is ESPN is so pissed off right now.
They are pissed
parity
because
they
wanted the Knicks so bad.
And the NBA and the media needs to stop dick riding for LeBron and company when guys like that are going to be retiring very shortly.
All right.
And y'all may have fucked yourselves because of that.
Yeah, their finals they would have loved was the freaking Lakers Celtics or Lakers versus Knicks or basically either New York or Boston from the East and then LA or Golden State from the West.
All right.
But now they have to go out in the middle freaking nowhere with both Oklahoma City and freaking Indiana.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and just say this right here. Since my woman is from Indiana, go Pacers. That's going to be it for us tonight, guys. We'll be back here next week at 8 o'clock as usual. And thank you very much again for joining us on the inaugural edition of Season 2 of This Week in College Football. Hopefully we can actually do this every week. We'll see how that goes. I'm Red. This has been Akbar and Allan. Thanks for joining us. Follow these guys as well on Twitch for Akbar. Allan, follow him on YouTube and X. And I'll see you guys next week. Wisconsin video is due up next, by the way, for long-form content. Follow me on Patreon if you want to get regular updates about that video production. Otherwise, it's going to be the community posts once in a while. And I'll see you guys in a week. Take care. Don't do anything stupid.